thrilled to be here in the home of the great Vince Giordano,
Right.
a legend in the jazz business. And this is not only your house, but I consider it a museum of memorabilia and music of many decades of jazz, the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Of course, a time where a certain gentleman was the world's leader in the style of jazz, and that's Louis Armstrong. And just reflecting a little bit on his life, you know, he grew up without a father in a very poor neighborhood in New Orleans, and somehow he channeled so much inspiration and happiness through his instrument. And so it's been a goal of mine to try to channel that energy into my own instruments, and I've had you as an inspiration. So it's an honor to be here.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to work with you and your brother and all you young fellows that are carrying on the tradition.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see that burning candlelight still shining bright through the sycamore for me. That new mown hay sends all its fragrance from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about that moonlight on the Wabash, then I think about Paul Wells on the drums, yeah.
When you think about Louis Armstrong, what does he mean to you?
Well, as the late Bob Wilbur once said, can you imagine what would have happened if Louis Armstrong, by some crazy reason, never got into music or never got jazz? What do you think would have happened to the evolution of jazz? And it's really an interesting thought, and it makes me think, because when Louis started on his own after leaving King Oliver, he just was trailblazing. And when he came to New York to play with Fletcher Henderson, not only was it crowded with people interested in hearing this new jazz phenomena, but there'd be lines of musicians that were there and saying, wow, what is going on here? There's something special. He was a real pioneer and innovator that so many people were influenced by. You could really see it in the Henderson band. All of a sudden, that band, which was good, it was a good band, but it changed. It changed when Louis came.
Right.
People just had more intensity in their playing. And a lot of people, you know, not only here in the States, but people like Django Reinhardt, who would buy his records and listen. And so he just created music that changed the world.
I think of him as, you know, an improviser who is able to kind of make up melody on the spot. And the way he kind of described it when he was asked about it is, he said, the first chorus I play the melody, and then the second chorus I routines the melody, and then the third chorus I routines the routines. So he was able to make up these new melodies. You know, with his scat singing, he made up new words like heebie-jeebies or skit-dat-dee-dat. So he was kind of a modernist in that way, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, he was really composing on the spot. I mean, he didn't take a pen and paper and write it all out. It was just coming out of his mind and his heart and soul.
Yeah, and you know, the audience, everyone out there who lives in New Jersey and New York, you know, we're so lucky to have Louis Armstrong's house intact, pretty much the way it was when he passed. Because Louis Armstrong was one of the world's most famous entertainers, but he lived in such an average neighborhood in Corona, Queens. And I know you and I have been to his house many times. I think we've played there together.
Yes.
But it's really cool to see that.
It is, and I can't tell you how many people that I've brought there that they said, well, show me something different. I said, I'll show you something different. And they just came out of there. It was like a religious experience. It really was, because that's how his impact is still coming, the energy. He's not there anymore, but he is.
Right,
Thank you.
Well, it's really an honor to perform today. We obviously have been playing some of the songs that Louis Armstrong made popular, because he was a composer, but most of what he played was from the Great American Songbook. Composers like Irving Berlin and Fats Waller and some of these great American composers that we love so much.
Yeah.
And I know you here have one of the biggest collections of sheet music in the world, right?
Yeah, I've got about 60,000 published arrangements and about 40,000 or so, even more, pieces of piano sheet music. So it's like 100,000 pieces of music here in this complex, which is overwhelming sometimes, but it's all organized, and every piece of music has its own little catalog number, and it's in the database, so you can find anything within seconds.
1, 2, 1. We're talking a lot about Louis Armstrong, but obviously you've been one of the biggest promoters of Armstrong's music. So, what inspired you to do that, or what first got you into jazz or Louis Armstrong?
Well, listening to old phonograph recordings. When I was young in the 50s, all you really heard was AM pop radio music, like How Much Is This Doggy in the Window and Oh My Papa, real kind of saccharine stuff. I mean, I'm happy for the people that recorded it and the composers. I'm sure they made a lot of money, but it really wasn't what I wanted to hear. And my grandmother had this wind-up Victrola. It was her wedding present in the 20s, and I would sit there for hours and listen to recordings. She had a couple of Armstrong things and one King Oliver recording, and a lot of jazz and vaudeville that was popular in the 20s. And I just would sit at the edge of my chair with the feeling that I got off these old recordings. It was a whole nother language than what people were playing in the 50s. It was that raw energy.
Right. Yeah, the way I like to think about Louis is he was one of the first great soloists. So, before Armstrong, you'd have a band that would be great together, but Louis was able to kind of break outside of the band and be like one of the first great virtuosos. It's a little bit like, if you have a good basketball team, that's great, but LeBron James, he's out there on himself, kind of wowing the audience.
Yeah.
And I think Armstrong was able to do that, so he toured the world with different bands, and he was able to be a star.
Oh, absolutely. And I think being a New Orleans musician, where they not only strive to be great jazz musicians, but they also they strive to be good entertainers, entertain the people. And he had a wonderful combination. Of course, his jazz was unsurpassed when people would just remark how he could just keep on coming up with different choruses and different choruses. His mind was just inexhaustible. He was like a well that just kept on flowing.
Right. like to go around your house and check out some of your instruments, we
Okay.
can see some here.
Yeah.
This is a bass saxophone.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a tuba up there. And, you know, earlier when we were playing, my brother and I were playing the different reed instruments. We were playing clarinet, soprano sax, alto sax, tenor saxophone. Just a moment ago, I got to play a straight baritone,
Oh, yeah.
which is, I think, the only one in the world.
As far as I know.
So I think we're going to have some fun in a few minutes checking
Okay.
everything out.
That's Henry Red Allen. He was a big disciple of Louis Armstrong, another New Orleans great trumpet man. Joe Rushton, bass saxophone. Gene Krupa. Here's a picture of the Ellington Band with everybody's autograph. And this fellow played with us for many, many years.
Is that Clarence Hutchinson?
Clarence Hutchinson. Here's Louis Armstrong's signature
Oh, yeah.
on this drum head. Here's a kind of a silly pop tune called the Midnight Waltz. You know, not that great, but you have all these different bands who would put their picture on this piece of sheet music. So it was kind of an honor as a way of publicity, because before the internet, before TV, so you got to get your name out there. There were thousands and thousands of bands running around playing. People loved music. Music was so important.
The Moon and You, played by Vince Giordano and his Nighthawks, electrophone record.
Some of these days you're gonna miss me, honey. Some of these days you're gonna miss me, baby. Gonna miss my loving, gonna miss my kissing. Oh, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone away. And you won't be, for you only, 'cause you know, honey, and you had your way. And when you leave me, it's gonna grieve me. Oh, you miss that old man some of these days.
We got to get young people introduced to music. That's the thing. We've got to get young people to hear Bach and Beethoven and Ellington and Armstrong and Harold Arlen, whomever, you know, and country music. But you got to get them when they're kindergarten, before they get their prejudices, before they say, oh, you know, that's old music. No, it's just music. It's all. It's like bananas. They're still great.